I want to show two definitions, one for misogyny and one for misandry. Okay, so misogyny is a prejudice or hatred for women, and misandry is a hatred for men. So I guess they're the same, they're equal. That's video done. Thanks for watching. Oh, no, wait, I forgot another definition I wanted to use too. You see, what's missed in all of this is the power dynamic between men and women. Historically and currently, right, men have had power in our society, whether it's through political means, social means, physical means, right? We've always had power in this society. So when we've always had power, there are those who will abuse those power, and those who abuse those power will most likely, on average, be men. And so when you live in a society where one group has power and the other group doesn't, you have an oppressive structure and those who are oppressed. Those who are oppressed don't have any political or social power to do anything, and especially when we're talking about women. Now, yes, I know people hate this word, but it's an accurate summation of what's happening here. In a patriarchy, I'm going to emphasize, most of the power is concentrated with men. There are some women who have power, but they only have power insofar as how much men are willing to give them, right? And they'll do what they can to hold on to that power. But by and large, men have all the power. So when women say stuff like, oh, I want to kill all men, they don't actually mean they're going to murder every single man, because they don't have the means to do so. They are simply voicing frustration. They don't have the power to do anything other than voice their frustrations. It's no different than how I and lots of other leftists talk about the billionaire class, right? We can't do anything to harm billionaires, not really. They have the power to crush us. They can buy us out. They can make it so things are unaffordable. They are already ruining the planet. They have so much unilateral power that all we can do is say, eat the rich. All we can do is make dark jokes when they get, let's just say, collapse under pressure. There's only so much we can do because we don't have any other avenues. So when women are talking about men, they're talking about us in terms of an oppressive class, because men have, again, historically oppressed women. So these people who are coming out trying to say, oh, well, misandry and misogyny are the same thing, they're not, because of the imbalance between power. The power dynamic is completely different. When a man says he hates women, there is the threat of power behind that. They can take actions to do that, and they have.
Tomorrow is the day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge.
Soon after posting this video to YouTube, Elliot Rodger would go on a shooting spree in the California city of Santa Barbara, killing 6 and injuring many others.
Shots fired, shots fired.
The attack, a form of revenge by an angry young man, one who was hell-bent on blaming women for his own personal loneliness.
The girls are not sexually attracted to me. There's a major problem with that. A major problem. That's a problem that I intend to rectify.
I mean, do we need to go through the myriad of list of men who have murdered women simply because they had a hatred towards them because they thought they owed them something? And I know people are going to want to bring up that, well, women do it too. Not nearly to the same extent. Let me show you what it looks like. If I say, hey, guns sure do kill a lot of people, and the response is, so does lightning. And then we look at the amount of gun deaths in this country versus the amount of people killed by lightning, you will see, while yes, it does happen, it's not nearly prevalent enough to be an issue. That is the same thing here. Anytime we bring up what happens when men attack women, there's a subset of men who feel personally attacked and then have to try to counteract it by saying, well, women do it too. Blank does it too is never a good response, right? And we know this. It's the all lives matter to Black Lives Matter. It's the, well, The KKK exists, but so does the Black Panther. Like, people are trying to falsely equivocate things because they have no other argument. They're not the same thing. They never will be the same thing. The KKK is not the same as the Black Panther. One is a reaction to the other. The KKK existed as an arm of white supremacy. The Black Panthers were a response to that white supremacy. Misogyny has always existed because we have a oppressive power structure that gives men power over women. Misandry is a reaction to that. Without misogyny, there would be no misandry. Without white supremacy, there would be no reactionary groups like the Black Panthers or anything of the sort. One exists independent of the other. You cannot equivocate the two. Men saying that they don't like women often carries the threat of violence. Women saying they don't like men seldomly carries the threat of violence, because these women go out of their way to avoid men, whereas these men go out of their way to invade women's spaces. There is no equivocation possible. Look at any set of data you look at. Women are almost exclusively the targets of domestic violence, of SA, of interpersonal violence, of getting murdered by their partner. And again, it's not to say that it doesn't happen to men too, but the rates at which they happen are night and day. All of this to say, when women or any oppressed group is voicing their frustration, if your response, instead of to look at why they're voicing their frustration, is to say, well, it's just as bad as you do it, I want you to understand you're making the if you punch a Nazi, you're just as bad as a Nazi argument. That is the ultimate argument you are making. Because the power dynamic and the impact are completely different. If I punch a Nazi, I am doing something objectively good. But if a Nazi is attacking someone, you know why a Nazi would be attacking someone. There's no mystery there. It's not like because, oh, they took the last ego I wanted. It's because that person is a minority that they have deemed to be inferior. It is a hate crime when Nazis attack. When they go marching, they do it to spread hate. So when Antifa shows up, they're not also spreading hate. Again, this false equivalency only exists because that's the only way people who are on that side can rationalize the argument. And for the people that are being recruited, I want you to really look at what's happening here. You have groups of people who have historically had power and use that to oppress others. And then you have people who've been oppressed. And you're trying to tell us that the people who've been oppressed are just at fault as the people who are doing the oppression. The second you try to rationalize that, the oppressive groups will pull you in. That is the pipeline to the alt-right. The second you try to rationalize their existence, you're trying to see things from the point of view, you're trying to reason with them, that is how they get you. Those people are not reasonable people, because what reasonable person could look at these situations and say, both sides are at fault? If you were walking in a forest and for some reason you can communicate with animals, you're a Disney princess or Dr. Dolittle, pick whichever you want, and you hear rabbits, you hear prey creatures having a meeting, they're talking about, down with the predators, kill all predators, death to predators. Would you then go to them and be like, hey, you're just as bad as those predators who eat and kill you and hunt you down every single day, killing you and your family to feed themselves. You're just as bad as them because you're saying these words. If you would say that, then I really need you to re-examine power dynamics. This was a really weird video. I was kind of just ranting at the screen. This is because on my TikTok, which you guys could definitely go follow, there is a conversation I'm having right now at the time of recording with a child. Well, he's 16, but I'm not gonna put his name or anything out there. But effectively, he is going down that alt-right pipeline where he's trying to justify following a man who does nothing but attack women on the internet. And he's trying to justify it by saying like, well, he's only doing that because these women are wrong, or he's only trying to disprove women from being wrong. And then I asked him, well, why does he feel the need to only go after women? He only corrects women. He goes after women. And his response was, because women are spreading misinformation. And I'm like, okay, but is it only women spreading misinformation? Like, I'm hoping I'm able to reach him. I'm not too confident with that, but that was the onus of why I did this whole video. It's just, I really wanted to be clear that misogyny and misandry are not the same thing. They are not the same. They're not equal. They are separate from each other. Misogyny exists outside of misandry. Misandry is not the same as misogyny. Misandry exists because of misogyny. All right. Like, share, comment, subscribe, whatever.